Hi, my name is Tara Bennett, and this is my story. So, for the last 3 months, I've been working on Human Nature Community, preparing the business for launch and preparing myself to start speaking. But I felt it was necessary for me to explain the business and to introduce myself formally. Wanted to start by giving you a little bit of background on my childhood and what led me to where I am today, and talk about some of the situations that pretty much brought the human nature into existence. One specifically towards the end of the video. I wasn't quite sure I wanted to put it out there because a lot of people don't even know about it, but again, it was one of those things that caused a domino effect and that led to the creation of Human Nature Community. And for what I'm attempting to create, or what I'm trying to accomplish through Human Nature Community, I do believe that it is going to be necessary for me to be completely honest. So I'm going to put everything on the table, and I hope you enjoy. All right, so 14 years ago, I moved from the Midwest to the East Coast. And at the time, I resented the move. I was upset with my husband for making me move. He pulled me away from my family, my friends. Before then, I had a good childhood. It was me, my mom, my brother, my dad, all living under the same roof. They worked to provide us with everything we needed, got pretty much everything we wanted, and life was good. I don't really have any complaints about anything coming up. My teenage years, or I should say my middle school / high school years, I spent a lot of that time playing basketball, and that carried me through college. I did 2 years in college, and after that time I ended up getting married, had my daughter, and that led to the move to Virginia. I was unsettled about the move. As I mentioned before, I really wasn't feeling it, but I was becoming content after a while because I had a new purpose, I had a new baby, and I just wanted to be able to provide her with the life that I was afforded when I was coming up. The move to Virginia actually kind of changed my perspective of life for the second time, and I'll try to explain the best I can with what happened when I was younger. I was a part of a desegregation program, and I'm not sure if they still exist or if you even know what that was, but I lived in inner city St. Louis, Missouri, and I was fortunate enough to be bused to St. Louis County, and it was like a 35-40 minute ride, but it was taken from the city to a place that looked nothing like where I was growing up, and went to a school filled with people that really didn't look anything like me, but it was good times. Glad to say that during that whole 1st to 12th grade, that time span, I wasn't made to feel like I was any different. But when I was playing basketball, because I was being bused back and forth, after school, before our games, it was like there was nothing to do. So I would be able to go to some of my teammates' house, and they would feed me, and I loved it. Thank you all for all the food, the delicious food, if you're watching. But during that time frame, like visiting their houses and seeing how they lived, huge kitchens, big bedrooms, nice basements. People had some of my other friends, they had pool tables and fish tanks built into the wall. It opened my eyes up to see, hey, people are really living good. I guess I wasn't watching enough TV back then because I didn't really understand. I didn't know that people actually were living like that. And I thought I was doing all right with what we had, but it kind of changed my perspective on the things that people can buy when you have the money for it. So that kind of lit a fire in me, because as soon as I was capable, I wanted to get a job, to start working. As soon as I turned 16, I wanted my driver's license so I can get a car. And like I said, my parents, they were able to help me out. So I ended up getting a car and paying them back for it. And it's like from then on, I just knew that whatever I wanted, I was going to work to find a way to get it. I just had the mindset that I was going to live better than what I was accustomed to living when I was younger. It's crazy. This time I was taken out of the city and put in a new place. I had a completely different reaction. Every chance I got, I was trying to go back to St. Louis. I just was not feeling it in Virginia. So anytime there was time off work, holidays, any chance I got, I was right back in St. Louis in my comfort zone. Part of it was because my husband, he was in the Army, so he was away from home a lot. And I spent most of the time with my daughter in the apartment alone. And I didn't have a support system like I did in Missouri, so I was just miserable. Eventually, I was able to build that support system that I so desperately wanted, and things got better. But as that got better, the home front was on the decline. And it got so bad I was torn between just going back to St. Louis or sticking it out in Virginia. And I had come to actually like Virginia because I realized it was a much better environment to raise my child in. So I stuck it out, and it was always worst case scenario. I'll just go home, move back in with my mom, and start over if I need to. And then one night, and I really, really wish that I could remember the sequence of events that led to it. But one night I ended up watching the movie The Secret, and that just opened my eyes again. It's like, hold on, I can actually control the way that my life is playing out. Things don't just happen. So I started practicing the Ask, Believe, Receive, and I guess my belief in that landed me a semi-promotion. It wasn't any increase in pay or anything, but I was able to get off the phones from the job that I was at, and that led me to meeting a mentor turned into a friend, a good friend of mine. And through that relationship, I ended up going to her church and ended up finding the Word of God. And it got me, I guess, going to church. It pulled me out of the place that I was in, because again, I mentioned that the home front, me and my husband, now ex-husband, were going through some things, and the relationship eventually ended, and it was just me on my own taking care of the two kids. And I was okay, completely fine with it. And surprisingly, the time frame from then to now, it hasn't really affected me as much as I thought it would, because like my life went off on this whole different path because of him being in the Army and because of me moving out. But I think that everything was lined up the way it should have been. I'm glad that it happened the way that it happened, because I eventually found God, and that was just the best thing that I think that could have ever happened. So out of everything, I'm just glad that I did stick it out, and I'm glad that my path ended me in the direction that or took me in the direction that it did at that time. So as I mentioned with the position, I wasn't making much, still had a little apartment, but just me knowing what that move did for me, moving from Virginia, or from St. Louis to Virginia, I was wanting to help out one of my cousins, actually two of my cousins. It happened at two different times, but I was trying to get back to them, just giving them a different viewpoint, and it didn't work out for them how it worked out for me, because both of them eventually went back to St. Louis. But I still wanted more, and my church had actually given us a Dave Ramsey course, and I went through that and learned how to allocate my money. And I had been good at paying my bills and everything on time, but was able to now know where to direct everything, and it really got me on course to be able to start saving more. And with the saving, I was starting to apply to other jobs so I could earn more to get to the house faster. But the job search wasn't going as I had hoped. So I watched the movie again and still had my faith. But I was reading some other self help books, and it changed how I was manifesting my life. From that point on at the job, it was like, I have this job, but this isn't my job. I have my dream job. And I even changed my password to I love my job. Like, everything was I love my job. I wanted a new job. And that was my thing, was to get a better position. So, okay, so there was a situation, and it was like, I have to go. I got lied to, and it was a big thing, and it just, that whole situation, I don't even want to bring up the feelings, but at that point I knew I had to go. I quit the job, and I took a position that was less than what I was getting paid there. I wanted to get out of there so bad. But the position that I took, I applied to that one as well as another one. So there was two jobs that I was really hoping I could get. One of them was a big pay increase. The other one was a pay cut. But I hadn't heard from the higher paying job, so I was like, let me just take this other one to get out of here. It was further away from work, or from where I lived, and I was just done with where I was, so I was like, I gotta go. And graduated training class from that job and absolutely loved it. I was doing very good, but as soon as I graduated my training class, the job that I had, the higher paying job, called. And I had it in my mind, like, whatever they have to say, unless they're offering me the top pay, I don't really want to hear it. I was going to negotiate getting the best pay. If not, I wasn't planning on making the move, because I really, really liked where I was. And before I could even open my mouth to talk about the job, the pay of the job, the guy just told me that he wants me to start within, I think it was within that same month, and he was going to give me the top pay, which actually doubled the money that I was getting at the job that I hated, that I had to get out of. So within that, I think it was October, December, I found out I got the job in March. So within, it was about 6 months time frame, I had doubled what I was making just by the actions that I was taking and believing and having the faith that I was going to get out of there. So much so that I quit the job, not knowing that I was going to double it, but it all ended up working out. And everything from that point was good. At the new job, once I quit after a month or so, it was crazy. I ended up going to the new job, and that's where I ended up meeting my new husband. And he knew right off the bat that I was trying to get a house. I had 2 kids, so he knew everything up front. But we started dating, and within a year of us dating, we ended up getting married. And like within a few days of the wedding, we had a house. So after that, everything happened really fast. And people were like, "Oh, you're getting married," and I know it's one of those things where you meet somebody and you get married within a year. But what I want to say about that is, during the time frame when I was trying to get a new job and saving, I had written down a list of qualifications or characteristics that I wanted in my next husband. So I knew exactly what I wanted. I wrote everything down. I knew I wasn't going to settle for anything less than what I wrote on that piece of paper. And when I met him, he was it. So there was no doubt in my mind that he wasn't for me. I knew that God said, "Hey, here's your husband." And it was just, I knew there was no doubt that he wasn't the one that I had asked for. So we got married, and like I said, we had the house, we got already had the kids. So I was working on trying to ante up. I'm making this money, he's making this money. Let's vacation. We were going on trips all over the place. Um, Planning on starting some investments and everything, but he had to bring me back down because the baby talk got really serious. So with the baby, I had decided with my son that I was done, but my husband, he didn't have any children, so I was like, if we're gonna have kids, I want to do it now. I don't want to wait until I'm in my late 30s. So I was like, okay, let's go for it. And we were excited when we found out that we were pregnant. But I didn't make any announcements. I'm really a private person, believe it or not. Um, I hadn't told anybody because my first marriage, my first pregnancy, I had a miscarriage. So that was in the back of my mind. I was like, I don't want to tell anybody until I'm out of the safe zone. But we let our close friends and our family members know. And about 9 weeks into the pregnancy, I ended up losing the baby. And it my kids, we got through it. I'll just say we got through it, but it was tough. And I ended up having to take some time off work because it was hard on me. When I got back to work, things had changed for me. I liked the money, but I didn't really care too much about what I had to do for the money. Wasn't really fulfilling. It wasn't a fulfilling job for me. So that on top of the emotional, what I was going through, I wasn't the same person. And we ended up trying again, and a few months later we got pregnant again. And this time when it happened, I ended up having the same symptoms that I was having with the previous pregnancy. So my doctor took me out on bed rest, and I was out for a little bit till I was out of the danger zone. And then I ended up going back to work. So everything was good through the first trimester, but my anxiety when I got back to work was like through the roof. The stresses of the job on top of the pregnancy hormones and what I was thinking, it was just a lot of pressure, and I wasn't feeling my best. So it was really hard being back on the job going through that. And I knew I had to contain it because my baby feels whatever I'm feeling. So I toughed it out, and I ended up making it the whole 9 months. But as it became time to leave work, I felt the relief is like, okay, I'm free. I don't have to go back in there. It's just me taking care of the baby. And after the baby was born, I decided to just go ahead and take the leave that they offer. Not only the 6 weeks maternity leave, but they give us a full year that we can take off in addition to that if we choose to do so. I've been able to help with homework, get food cooked without having to rush for the next day, get ready for the next day, visit my family without having to ask for time off, making sure things get approved and not being able to go where I want to go because there's no time available. But it just gave me a lot of clarity on the value of my time. And I started researching what I could do to be able to have more time for myself and for my kids, for my husband. So I was looking into Amazon FBA and was dabbling in the stock market. And I went into meditation, and I was just thinking to myself, like, what would I do what would I do for free? What is it, something I enjoy doing that I wouldn't even worry about getting a paycheck for? And it comes back to being able to help people. And right after that meditation, I want to say maybe the next day or a couple days afterwards, I was watching this program called Locked Up. A guy named Garen Jones, he's in a French prison for some sort of drug charge. But he was watching The Shawshank Redemption. And in that movie, he heard a quote that said something about, if your mind is free, then you're free. So from that point on, he was like, well, I'm a free man. And he was just going about his business in jail. But in his mind, he was like, I'm free. So miraculously, somehow, they retested the drugs that he was in there for. Like, for some reason, they just went ahead and retested it. And they had tested it 2 or 3 times before, but this time when they retested it, it came back negative. So they had to release him. So he spent all that time and eventually got out just by changing his mind. And I knew that there's power in that. I know that there's power in faith. So that's something that's important to me, because this is something that I've been using for I want to say all my life, because I've always been the type to say, hey, if there's something that you want to do, you can do it. But to actually be practicing this and using it, it's been since, I want to say 12 years. It's been 12 years I've been practicing this, and it works. So I want to be able to show people, because my daughter, she was playing soccer, and I could see I could see that she wasn't confident out there. It wasn't good. But not only in her, I can see it in some of the other people that I talk to, and some of the posts I see online. Like, people just don't believe in themselves. So that's something that I want to change. I think that I can make a positive impact, and I want to be able to bring people together, because I know that there is more power if you have the support, because that people need it. Whenever they get down, you're going to need somebody to be able to pick you up. So that's where the idea of Human Nature Community came from. I know that if you put your mind to something, you can make it happen. But not everybody has that level of confidence in them. And it could be something that I did along the way, or something, I don't know. But that's something that we're changing. I have her writing affirmations, saying affirmations, and writing in a journal, just so she knows that she has plenty of things that she's good at, and she's speaking things out loud, and she's getting it. I've seen notepads and little stickies that she's written that I didn't even ask her to do. So she's getting the hang of it, and she's building that confidence. But I noticed that there are other people who are older, grown people on Facebook or wherever else I run into them or talk to them. It's like they don't have that confidence in themselves, and that needs to change. It has to change. I started the Human Nature because I want to show people that their thoughts are going to determine their life. If they think negative, they think lesser of themselves, then it's not going to change unless you put some action behind it and actually believe that you can do more. So I want to be able to show people and give people the resources that they need to be able to accomplish it. So not only do I want you to think better, I want you to be able to have the backup to actually put things in action and make it happen. I want to help people get out of their impossible situations, like Garen Jones and like my daughter. So I want to make life easier for anybody who's looking to do better for themselves, be it men, women, children. Just want to have that community where we can all come together, share ideas, trade resources, whatever it is. I just want to be able to make a positive impact. My goal is to make life easier for anybody who's looking to do better for themselves, and I'm going to give of myself to make that happen. And I'm going to encourage anybody who wants to give of themselves to join in, because there is strength in numbers. So that's where I am now, and I have an event that I'm planning to put the business out there, and I'll be putting more information on Facebook, on Instagram, through the YouTube channel, so you can keep up with what I have going on. But I just did this to let people know who I am and where I come from and where I plan on going with this business. And I ask that you, if you gained anything from this video, I ask that you like it and subscribe if you want to be notified of more videos. I'd love to be able to take you along on the ride. If you have any questions, definitely feel free to ask anything in the comment section. I just want to be able to get the ball rolling so we can make some positive change. I'm going to include all of my links to different social media pages in the description below. And again, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out. Until next time, I want you to continue to think bigger, and we'll talk again soon. With love.